All right, so as we hit on towards the end of the last video, to use the Flexbox, okay? So basically to use the Flexbox model, you need to first define the Flex container. The Flex container is the parent element holding the other items which you want to have flow or position within the container. So as an example, this blue area, okay, is our Flex container. As you can see here, there's a class, Flex container. This is user defined. This can be anything you want, but this is where we basically call out that we are going to use Flex, okay? And then whatever inside you can have inside of div elements, okay? So here's our class, Flex container, and you can see we are setting the display to Flex. Okay, so that is the initial setup. You have to have the parent. You have to tell the parent to display Flex. All right, so Flex container properties are the following. Now, again, I highly recommend that you booknote this page and you come back and use this as a reference, because remembering all of these different properties and their values, it's just going to take some time, okay? There's a lot going on this page, so it might be best to start out really taking things simple and then build on your knowledge and continue to come back and learn and practice with the Flex container property. So we can deal with our Flex direction, okay, the direction of our Flex elements. We can deal how our elements, whether they wrap or not. We can deal with the flow of the elements. We can justify the elements, and I believe justifying is on the x-axis this way. We can align the elements and align the content, and then we're starting to deal with columns. So justify content is kind of, I believe, dealing with rows, and align content is the column. All right, so let's drop down here, and we start out with our Flex direction property. All right, and basically our Flex direction is either going to be a column or a row. So if we go ahead and try this, so right now Flex direction is set to column, and you'll see that your content stacks up. If we were to change this to row and run, you'll see that your content now goes this way, okay? And I don't believe our wrap is being set, so our content will just sort of squish down, okay? So right now, I believe the default is no wrap, but if we were to set this to wrap, then our rows would become columns as the containing Flex element became more narrow. All right. Okay, let's get out of this. We'll go back. And then you can see that you can experiment with the Flex direction. You can column reverse. All right, so let's scroll down here a little bit. And then you can row reverse. So you can just change the direction, okay? So basically, if we Flex direction, let me remember here real quick. All right, so we would have row, and run, and you'll see that we start on the left-hand side. So sort of we can associate this to the old school floats. So when we would float left, our elements would start on the left-hand side and begin to draw across the page. So if we were to change this back to row reverse, this is basically like saying float right, where our elements begin on the right-hand side and draw over to the left. One of the nice things about Flex also unlike floats, is floats would remove elements from the normal flow of the document. And what would happen is the parent element, like what we have here, this blue area, would collapse. And we would have to reestablish this element in the flow of the document, and we would use what were called clears. So Flexbox gets rid of those issues of basically the elements leaving the normal flow of the document. In this case, they stay in the normal flow of the document, and we no longer have to use clears because our parent element knows that these elements are in fact here. All right, so if we were to do column, now our content stacks up top to bottom. And I believe if we change this to column reverse, you now see that our elements start drawing from the bottom and go up. All right, so next in line here is dealing with the flex wrap property. And we basically already talked about this. We could have wrap or no wrap, meaning that these elements, as we narrow down the window, these elements would become more and more narrow unless if we had this set to no wrap. If we set the flex to wrap, then of course what they're going to do is they should begin to redistribute. Okay, so we can change from X amount of rows to X amount of columns. And this is really a nice feature, a really easy way to create a responsive design where your design layout might go from a 4-column grid, 3-column grid, 2-column grid to a 1-column grid, depending on the width of the viewport of your device. So creating a basic responsive site for different devices, you could do that very easily with using Flex. Okay. Now again, the more simple you keep things, probably the easier it's going to be for you. All right, let's go ahead and end this video, and we will pick up on some more Flex concepts in the next.